In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact system we use to manage deliverability in 2026. We're going to cover infrastructure, warm-up, domain rotation, lead list hygiene, how to set up your campaigns, copywriting rules, and how to measure whether your domains and inboxes are healthy or not. If you're new here, my name is Romain Osman. I co-founded 5element, and over the past years, we've generated over 1,000 sales appointments for B2B companies and millions in pipeline using cold emailing and LinkedIn outreach. So let's get started. The foundation of deliverability is your sending infrastructure. So first, we always send from Google and Microsoft accounts. We want to avoid SMTP providers because they burn a lot faster and they're not as reliable. So it's better to just use Google and Microsoft accounts and not overcomplicate with SMTP providers. For Google accounts, you can use Google resellers. There are a lot on the market. And for Microsoft accounts, you can use services like Hypertide or Scaled Mail for the Microsoft Azure infrastructure. All of the rest is not worth it. For the domains, the TLD doesn't really matter. .com is always better, but we also use a lot of .info and .co because they're a lot cheaper. We buy .com domains on Cloudflare. Those are the domains we want to keep for the long term, for 4 or 5 years. And then we buy .info domains and .co domains on Spaceship and Porkbun. We buy those only for 1 year because for the first year, they're a lot cheaper and then they become pretty expensive. So those are the domains we use, of course, just for outreach. And then the next year, we just buy new domains and new inboxes. But for the .com domains, we renew them every year. Now, for each domain, use a maximum of 2 to 3 inboxes because you don't want to put too much load on one domain. And at the same time, you don't want to lose many inboxes if one domain starts having a bad reputation and one domain burns. And before anything goes live, check your DNS records. Make sure your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC are properly set up. You can use easydmarc.com for that, or you can directly check in SmartLead or Instantly. Your Google or Microsoft resellers will set everything up for you, but it's always better to check because they sometimes make some mistakes. Now let's talk about warm-up and domain rotation. So for new inboxes, you should run the warm-up for minimum 2 weeks before sending any cold email. More is better, but in general, 2 weeks is sufficient. Also, it's always better to have half of your inboxes in warm-up, so half active and half warming up, meaning if you need 50 sending inboxes, you need to buy 100, and so 50 will be only in warm-up. And then you rotate every 2 to 4 weeks. This way, it gives your domains time to rest. And if some domains burn, you don't need to wait 2 weeks to send the same volume of outreach. You can directly switch with the other inboxes. This type of setup is not mandatory, especially if you're on a budget, but it's a lot safer. Now, let's talk about how to configure your campaigns. First, turn off open and click tracking. The tracking pixel that is added to the email triggers spam filters. And at the same time, the open rate is very unreliable. The only metric that tells you something about deliverability is the reply rate. So you can just turn off the open and click tracking. Also, keep your emails in plain text only. So no HTML, no images or links, especially in email 1. If you want to send some documents or images in email 2, why not? I don't necessarily recommend it, but absolutely not in the first email. And also no unsubscribe link. Now for the timing, send from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 p.m. in the right time zone. For SMBs and founders, Saturday works as well. Of course, your reply rate will be lower, but it's worth testing. You can even send on Sundays, but only when you contact founders or small companies. Now let's talk about lead lists. So at some point before, we were avoiding sending to Microsoft inboxes because the reply rate was a lot lower than when we were sending to Gmail inboxes. But now we're contacting all providers, even if the reply rate of Microsoft is a lot lower. And I think that's the right thing to do because we're still getting some replies from Microsoft. And at the same time, it can be considered as a weird behavior if you only send emails to Gmail inboxes. And so it can trigger some spam filters. So now we're just sending to all providers. And when you send a large volume of emails every day, leads are not unlimited. So unless your total addressable market is in the hundreds of thousands or even millions, then you will be limited by the amount of leads you can contact. So it's better to just contact all providers. The second thing is to always validate the emails before launching the campaign. Even if your data provider is telling you that the email is valid, don't trust them. Always add a layer of verification. You can use debounce for that, but you have other tools like million verifiers. Third, only send emails to catch-alls if you can verify them. So tools like debounce or million verifiers won't verify the catch-alls for you. So you can use tools like bounceban.com, catchall.so and unreach.so to verify them. And finally, keep the bounce rate below 2%. So if you exceed it, stop the campaign and try to figure out what happened. You can export the whole list and verify again and see where you potentially made a mistake. Now let's talk about copywriting. So first, use syntax, but review every variant yourself. AI will generate unnatural combinations, and that can hurt your reply rate. So read them out loud and fix them if they sound unnatural. Then I already mentioned it before, but don't use any links, images, or PDFs in the first email. It can work on the short term, but it will burn your domains way faster. Then avoid spam words. You can use this link to check if you have some spam words in your copy. Keep it short, simple, and conversational. So keep your emails short, but not necessarily too short. I mean, you can test very short emails, but they're not always working, so you'll have to test. But I would say from 3 to 6 sentences in general, it's good. Above that, it might be too long. And of course, keep them simple. It has to be very easy to understand and straight to the point. Also, a good habit to have is to rotate your copy every 2 to 4 weeks because spam filters recognize patterns. And so if you use the same copy over and over, even with syntax, it can harm your deliverability. So it's good to rotate them. Also, instead of adding an unsubscribe link, you can add a PS line like that, so they can opt out easily and they don't report you as a spam. And finally, a good offer is better than good personalization. I know that a lot of people want to add a lot of personalization in their emails, especially now with AI, but most of the times it's not worth it. It's better to work on the offer rather to work on the personalization. I noticed that in many cases, adding more personalization can harm the reply rate because now a lot of people understand that it's done by AI and so they just skip the email. Now let's talk about how to measure your deliverability. So the first thing to do is to monitor your Warmup reputation score. On SmartLead, a score below 98 and even 99% is a bad score, and so you should disconnect the inbox from the campaign. I personally never let an inbox below 100% stay on a live campaign, because if you have a score that is below 99, that is not 100%, it means that there is an issue somewhere. And so you should let the inbox rest for some time. So you can disconnect the inbox from the campaign. And then when it comes back to 100%, you can wait a few days to see if it's stable and then reconnect it back to the campaign. The second thing to do is to track your reply rate per domain, and you have to compare it against your own baseline. A 1% reply rate can be great for one offer, but bad for another one, because there are some markets and some offers that are very hard and very competitive. And so a 1% reply rate can be good. And for other markets that are easier, then a 1% reply rate can be a very bad one. So the only way to measure is to compare it with yourself. If you started the campaign with a 3% reply rate and now you're at 1%, it means that something is wrong. And on SmartLead, in email campaign analytics, you have the reply rate per domain. So you can easily tell which domain has an issue. And I guess it's the same thing in Instantly. So that's it for the video. Now, if you want us to help you build and run your entire outbound system for you, so you don't have to focus on any of that and you can just focus on closing deals, you can hit the first link in the description to book a call with me. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe. I'll be posting more tutorials and strategies to help you scale your outbound. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.